Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm going to be reviewing and talking about and showing you how to play Kitara from Yellow. Now, before I get too into this, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain, and Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. There's also a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some cool gamer gear, Board Game Captain merch, t-shirts, mugs, etc. Like this shirt I'm wearing here that says, "Hey, good looking, come to this dungeon often." You can head over to my Teespring store, link in the description down below. And if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon, also in the description down below. All right, so I want to give a big thank you to Yellow for giving me this review copy of Kitara to check out and play and review. Thank you, Yellow. So this game was designed by Eric B. Vogel, and the art was done by Miguel Coimbra. Now, this is a area control game that has kind of a African folklore and mythology sort of feel to it, which is really, really neat because it is one part of the world that you don't often see games like this done with a theme of the kind of mythology and folklore from that area. Kitara, which I was not familiar with, is a legendary ancient civilization from Africa. People don't know if it's based on a real civilization that may have existed at some time in the past, but it's been kind of mythologized as time has gone on. So the game is listed as for 2 to 4 players. It is for ages 10 and up, and it is listed at 40 minutes. So I'm going to start there. Now, the 2 to 4 players, this game plays pretty well at all player counts. It scales very well. There's a 2-player board, a 3-player board, and a 4-player board. It actually comes with one double-sided board and one single-sided board, with which I'm going to show you in a moment. And that really helps to scale it properly. The ages 10 and up is probably actually a pretty good estimate. This is a fairly light game, and I think kids who are 10 years old in houses that play board games are going to be fine with this. And as for the 40 minutes, I do prefer a range, because this game could go longer or even shorter, especially once you get used to the rules. But you know, this is definitely in the range that I would have picked for it. I would have probably though said like half an hour to maybe a little over an hour would have been my range. But yeah, 40 minutes is in there, so it's not that bad an estimate. All right, so let's have a look at what comes in the box when you buy a copy of Kitara. So the first thing you got here is the rules. Now the rules are very well done, very easy to understand. I had no issue with the rules. I read through these and was up and running pretty quickly. It's a total of 7 pages. Not too crazy, and like I said, it's full color. Lots of diagrams to show you the setup, to show you how to do things. Really well done. Big thumbs up for me on the rules. Now the next thing we have here is the small board. This is the 2-player board. It has a little annotation here which shows 2 players. My only complaint on this particular board is the fact that it is really tiny, which is why I'm not going to wind up showing it in the tutorial, even though actually I really like this game at 2 players. I think this game plays really well at 2 players. It's just that the bigger board is so much more impressive. So the bigger board, as you can see here, is much larger. It's 2-sided because this is the 4-player side right here. And then this is the 3-player side, which we're going to be showing in the tutorial portion of this video. This is on the other side of the 4-player side. So next we have the faction boards. So now these are different, but only aesthetically. They're identical because there are no asymmetric player powers in this game other than just the look. So you've got a different color and a different giant animal for the heroes to ride on for each faction. So the red faction has lions. The yellow faction has a giant wild boar or warthog. The green faction has a rhino, and the blue faction has a giant water buffalo. Those are really cool. I like the artwork for them. I would have liked asymmetrical player powers, but you know, that's not too bad. And then there's a little cheat sheet on the side here, which I'm going to talk a little bit about when we're talking about the review. Next, we have a nice little cloth bag. I like that they included this because there is a blind draw aspect you're going to see during the game where you draw these tiles out of the bag. So, and then of course we have some cardboard punch out tiles. Here we have a cardboard punch-out first player token. Here we have a bunch of cards. I do like the cards come in two varieties. You have blue and red. Because there are two decks that change how the game plays slightly, which is really cool. It adds a little bit of replayability to the game, and they come numbered from 0 to 5, because the 0 are the starting cards that everybody gets one of. You'll see when we're playing the game, and the numbers slowly go up as you work your way through the decks while you're playing the game. Then there are a ton of chunky wooden meeples. We have meeples of warriors, as you can see here. We also have meeples of heroes, and we have meeples of master animals. So the heroes look like one of the heroes on a rhino there, similar to the rhino player's board. I would have liked it, though I know it would have been a lot more expensive, if they had managed to customize the heroes so they look like each individual animal, but it's not necessary, and they look actually quite fine. And the master animals in here look just like the illustration of the master animal from the book, where they're kind of like a centaur, except instead of being part horse, they're part cheetah, which is really kind of cool. Then we also we have some chunky wooden counters for movement and for points here. And that's basically it. That's everything that comes in the box. All right, so now we're going to head over to the table. I'm going to run you through a few turns, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and I'm going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a 3-player game of Kitara. So the first thing you have to do when setting up to play a game of Kitara is you have to find the correct board and put it out on the table. Now this board here is a 2-sided board. The side we're on here is for 3 players, the other side is for 4, and it comes with a third little board for 2 players. 2 players plays just as well as the other sizes, but we chose to use the 3-player board because it looks larger and more epic and thought it would look nicer on the camera. Now, the next thing you have to do is gather your tokens, all of your pawns, etc., and your board for your color. Now, there is no difference between the different colors. It's only aesthetics. So I'm going to be controlling the red player over here as well as the yellow player over there.
And I'll be controlling the blue.
So we then have to select one of the spaces that has a little hut on it to be our starting space. So to make it easy here, we have set ourselves up with each player's player board having the closest space to it as their starting space. So yellow starting here, red here, and Lynn's blue is starting over there. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to get your starting 0 era card, which comes with symbols for 2 cards on the top, 3 pawns in the second row, and 2 movement symbols in the third row. These cards all are broken up like this, and some of them have in a 4th row a point symbol, like this card here has a point symbol in the 4th row. And these cards kind of work as a cheat sheet for going through the phases of the turn mostly. There is a cheat sheet on the left over here on your card for some other things. I'm going to talk about that more during the review. But really, once you got all this out and you put your tokens on the board, the only thing you have left to do is set up the deck, which the way you do it is you separate all the eras, you shuffle each era individually. Era 1 goes on top all the way down through era 5 on the bottom of the deck, and you deal out 6 cards into the market. You also have to place all of the hero tokens into the little cloth bag that it comes with and put them off to the side, and then that's it. You're ready to play the game. You randomly decide who goes first. In this case, Lynn will be going first, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then you are ready to play. Now, I'm going to introduce as Lynn plays, because this is the kind of game that I feel is really easier to teach while doing. I'm going to tell you all of the phases of Lynn's turn as she goes through them. So, Lynn, are you ready?
Yes.
So the first phase of Lynn's turn is the draft phase. Now in the draft phase, she's going to look at the cards she already has in her tableau, which to start with is just the level 0 card, and she looks at how many card symbols there are. She can pick from the first however many cards in the draw from this side equal to how many cards she has, card symbols she has on the cards in her tableau. So being that she has 2, she can pick from amongst these first 2 cards which one she would like to draft to add to her tableau. So Lynn, would you like the one with the card symbol on the point or the one with
I'm going to take this one.
The one with the warrior and the move. A wise decision. Lots of warriors are going to be very important for controlling lots of plane spaces later in the game. Once you have chosen your card, you slide them all down and you deal another card up. Now, as you can see, the first card that came up there, the new card, is a Era 2 card, because we are going to work our way through the eras all the way to Era 5. When Era 5 starts coming up, that will be triggering the end of the game. Now, the next phase for Lynn is the recruit phase. So for the recruit phase, she recruits pawns equal to the symbols on her new card she just drafted, and she may place them on any areas she currently has pawns already in. So now the board is broken up into plains areas and ruins spaces. The lake spaces are, you're not able to go through them, so they're kind of like voids. So Lynn only controls one space. There's only one place for her to put her one new warrior, and she's placed it there. And then she's going to move on to her movement phase. So we have a little movement token to help us keep track of the moves, and she has 3 possible moves she can make. So what's going to be your first move?
My first move is going to move these 3 there.
Now, when doing a move, you can take any number of pawns of any type. There are 3 types of pawns. There are master animals, warriors, and heroes. You can take any number of pawns from one space you currently control and move them to another space. You can always leave some behind, but you can't, split them up or anything like that. What are you going to do for your second move?
My second move, I'm going to move there.
Okay, and are you going to use your third move?
I am. I'm just going to move one there.
So Lynn has spread out quite a bit. She's used her 3 moves to take a lot of territory. She now controls quite a sizable portion of the board and has moved into the central area here. So very, very nice. So the next thing we're going to do is the point phase. Now the point phase starts with, if you have any point symbols on your card, like this one I showed you over here, you can get points for those. Lynn does not have any of those. The next thing is you also can take 2 points if you have any master animals on the board in ruin spaces. Each ruin space you control with at least 1 master animal in it will get you 2 points, but Lynn doesn't have any of those yet, so she's not going to get any points for that. And the final thing is, if you have gotten any hero tokens from the bag, which you need to win combats with heroes to get hero tokens, you take the most valuable of them, put it face down on your card, and put the rest back in the bag. So that is it for the scoring phase, and then we move on to the manage phase, where we check to make sure Lynn controls enough planes to feed her people. Now, you're allowed to maintain 1 card in your tableau for each plane space you control. Lynn currently controls 4 plane spaces, only has 2 cards in her tableau, so she doesn't need to discard any. If she did need to discard them, she would discard them to the discard pile next to the deck, and then if they had any pawn symbols on them, whatever types of pawns were on the card, she would have to lose them from the board of her choice. But I guess that will be it. Lynn, are you all finished?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the yellow player. The first thing I'm going to do for the yellow player here is I'm going to draft one of the first 2 cards, just like Lynn did on her turn. They are going to draft this card here, which gives them an extra choice of cards to choose from in the draft next round, and also gives them a master animal. They place it next to their group here, and again, we slide everything on down. Then, after their draft, they're going to recruit their 1 master animal that they just got. They've only got 1 possible place to put it, so they're going to put it there. Followed by the next thing they are going to do is they are going to do their movements. And they have 2 possible movements that they can do, but only 2. And that's rather important. So for the first movement, what they're going to do is they're going to move the master animal and the 2 warriors into the ruin space here, so they can control the ruins with their master animal, which is, of course, going to be very important for the point scoring phase. And then for their second move, they are going to move 1 of their warriors off to this space here to control it as well. They're leaving an extra warrior behind to help defend the ruin space in case Lynn decides she wants to come in and try to take that from them, making it a little less appetizing. But that's going to be it for their movement. And then now that they've done their movement, they're going to do their scoring phase. Now, again, we have not taken any point scoring symbols with this player, and but we have taken a ruined space for the master animal, which means they will get 2 points. So they're going to move up 2 points on the scoreboard. They, though, also have not done any battles with heroes. They don't have any heroes yet on the board, so they do not get to take and keep any of their hero tokens. So now we're going to move on to the red player's turn. So on the red players decide they're going to take the card that has the point scoring symbol on it, because taking it first turn will be good in the long run. It means every turn they're getting a free point from now until the end of the game, as long as they're able to maintain that card. So that can be very valuable. So now they do not recruit any minions because there are no pawn symbols on the card they just took. So we're just going to move on to the movement. So for their first movement, the red player is going to move one pawn onto this space here. And for their second movement, they're going to move one pawn onto this space here. So they control a total of 3 spaces. Similarly to the yellow player having just enough in both cases, really, to maintain the 2 cards that they have drafted. And now during the scoring phase, the red player will score 1 point for the point symbol on their card. They, of course, also did not have any combats yet with heroes, and also do not control yet any ruin spaces with master animals. So now it is Lynn's turn.
I'm going to take this one.
Ooh, you're taking a hero, huh? Nice.
I get a warrior and a hero.
Oh, fight is coming.
For my first movement, I'm going to move here.
So you're moving with the warrior, so you are going to win a combat here. Now I have to move, because I lost the combat, and it's a very simple thing. If you have more pawns than me, when you attack a location, I lose the combat. Losing the combat means I must retreat to my closest controlled space. That would be this ruin space over here. So I've now retreated to that ruin space, and that is it for the combat, except that since Lynn did the combat with a hero, she gets to draw a random token. She's not going to reveal it to anyone. She's just going to put it face down on the table in front of her to later keep one of the ones she drafted this round for the end of the game as a secret method of scoring. So we have no idea what she has drawn, but she does still have 2 more possible moves.
I'm not going to do any more moves.
Now we move on to Lynn's scoring phase. Lynn has still not controlled any of the ruin spaces or obtained any scoring tokens on her cards, but she did get 1 token from a battle. She gets to put that now face down on her faction card, making it permanent. And of course, she owns plenty of playing spaces, so she can maintain those 3 cards in her tableau. Now it is the yellow player's turn to go. So the yellow player definitely needs to take some more playing spaces, because if they don't, they will not have enough to maintain those 2 cards in their tableau. They only currently control 1 playing space, and of course they're going to be drafting a card to begin with. So they're going to start by drafting the 3rd card, jump right on up. Since they have 3 card symbols in their tableau, they can draft the 3rd card, which is a Era 2 card, which has more symbols on it. This one will get them the ability to draft 2 more possible cards, as well as giving them a hero of their own. So they're going to take that hero and they're going to place it right there in the ruin space, because of course they are. And then they are going to move on to their movement. Now they still only have 2 moves, which is a little tough. They are a little hampered by this. But for their first move, what they're going to do is they're going to take back that playing space that Lynn just took from them by moving the hero and 2 warriors into it. So now Lynn, of course, must retreat. So it is very obvious which is the closest space for her to retreat to. And for their second move, they're going to take 1 more playing space. So they have a total of 3 planes, just enough to maintain the 3 cards in their tableau. They also need to, of course, take one of the random scoring tokens for winning a battle with their hero. And now they're going to be moving on to their scoring phase. So their scoring phase, they're going to make that permanent. Again, they are controlling a ruin space with a master animal, which means they get another 2 points. And that is going to be it for their scoring. And again, they have enough planes to maintain their tableau, so they are all good. So now we're going to move on to the red player over here. So the red player gets to draft from the first 3 cards. The red players decided to draft the 3rd card. It is an Era 2 card. They're jumping right up to those Era 2s, which are very valuable. And that gets them 2 more warriors, which they're going to place on the board right here. Then they will do their moves. So for the first move, they are going to attack yellow here, which forces them to retreat back there. For their second move, they're going to move out and conquer another plane space. And they're going to pass their 3rd move because they do not need it. And they are all good. So they're going to move on to their scoring phase. During their scoring phase, they're going to get 1 point, again, for the point symbol on their cards over here. After which, moving into their manage phase, they have 5 playing spaces, which is plenty to hold on to their 3 cards. They are all set, and we're going to move back on to Lynn.
I'm going to choose this card.
Ooh, looking for a sacred animal, eh?
So I get 1 sacred animal.
Mmm.
And then for my first move, I'm going to move him onto a ruined space.
A very smart decision.
For my second move, I'm going to move those guys there.
Mm-hmm.
My third move, my third move, I'm going to move them there.
Okay.
And then...
You've still got one more. You had a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Am I getting attacked over here?
Okay, and for my fourth and final move, I am going to attack here.
Okay, so now in this case, my retreat, I actually have a choice. So Lynn abandoned the space completely to be able to do the attack, to move everybody in here, but she'll control the same number of spaces she would have anyway. Now my choice is because I am 1 space away from 2 different spaces I currently control. So I'm going to move in this direction here for my retreat. Lynn will of course get a point token that she's going to put face down because she wanted an attack with a hero, since there was in fact a hero in that space where she attacked. And then now, Lynn, are you done with your movement?
Yes.
So she's going to move on to her point phase. Now, during her point phase, she gets to make that point token she just obtained in the combat permanent. She also gets to get 2 points because she has a ruined space with a master animal on it over here. Okay, so Lynn, are you all finished?
Yes.
And you have, it looks like you have plenty. What, 1, 2, 3, 4,
5.
5. Yeah, you've got 1 more plane space. 1 more plane space than you need for the number of cards you have. Now, Yellow's been picking some cards that do good stuff for them, but has not, has consistently been sort of fighting an uphill battle. They have less plane spaces than they have cards at the beginning of their turn again. However, Yellow is able to draft any of the first 5 cards, which is a lot. So they can pick any of those cards to help them in getting back some more plane spaces. Yellow chooses to draft this card here because it'll give them another movement in addition to giving them a warrior and a hero. And the movement is pretty important because up until this point, Yellow's been pretty bad with the movement. They only had 2 movement symbols. So that is going to help quite a bit. Then they're going to get to place their hero and their warrior on the board, and they're going to place them here. So now it is time for Yellow to do their movement. So what they're going to do is for the first movement, they're going to move the hero and the warrior into blue space here, taking it from them. Doing so means that they get to draw 1 of the tokens from the bag, which, again, could be very important. This could be a very powerful token. Let's see if it's valuable. I'm going to put it face down over here by them. Now, for their next movement, Yellow is going to move all 3 of the guys here and take this space from red, forcing them back to the outer ring there. And for the final movement, what they're going to do is just move 1 warrior back over to that space to be able to control a total of 4 plane spaces, which is just enough to maintain their cards. Now, having conquered that extra space from red, they get to draw another token. However, as we move into the scoring phase, they do have to, of course, pick one of these tokens to keep. Now, I'm going to show them to the camera now. They drew a 4 and a 3. So, of course, they would choose the 4 to keep, put it on their board. That's going to be 4 points for them at the end of the game. In addition, controlling 1 of the ruined spaces with a sacred animal means they get another 2 points right now thrown onto the scoreboard, which means Yellow is actually looking like they're in a fairly good position to win the game. But they do have to watch out because throughout this game so far, Yellow has been in a position where they've been very likely to not have enough planes to maintain all their cards. And if you do continue that way, and if you ever wind up in a turn where you do not have enough planes to maintain all your cards, you have to discard them, you're going to wind up losing some of your meeples from the board, which can make it very difficult to maintain your empire. Now, we keep going until a turn where a Era 5 card comes up into the market over here, at which point we finish that turn, do 1 full final turn where every player gets one additional turn, and then we end the game and we move on to the final scoring. For the final scoring, we reveal all of our hidden hero point tokens, which give us our points and they get added to the board, and we also get 2 points for every card we've managed to maintain in our tableau. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game of Kitara is the winner. So now we're going to head back over. I'm going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and I'm going to rate it and review it. Welcome back. So that was how you play a game of Kitara. So let's go over the ups and the downs. I like to start with the negatives so I can finish on the positive. So the first negative I have is with this cheat sheet here. So there's a error on the cheat sheet, which made it a little bit confusing when we were learning to play. So the card reference, it has references for the different kind of abilities of the different types of meeples, as well as what the different symbols on the cards mean. And most of them are pretty good, except for the card symbol, which says take one card per card symbol, which is not correct. You take one card from amongst a number of cards equal to the number of card symbols you have from the end of the row. Granted, that would have been harder to fit there, but this being incorrect actually was a little confusing the first time we played, so it's a little bit of a gripe that I have. Otherwise, though, these aren't bad. The cards are nice. They're language independent. They have really great symbology. They're usually pretty easy to understand as long as you don't make that one error. So that's a pretty minor gripe. I have one other gripe, which is that with the exception of switching the decks, because they do have the 2 decks to increase replayability, the replayability of this can sometimes feel a little moderate because there's not a huge amount of difference between the each game. Now, you've got lots of ways to score, but it doesn't feel all that much like, to me, that there's a lot of different strategies you can go by. Like you could just focus in on the cards that give you points, or you could just focus in on the master animals and controlling the ruin spaces, or you could just focus in on attacking people. Because while you got to do a little bit of everything, you really do have to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There's definitely a hierarchy in regard to how valuable each of these things are. So the first thing, the one that's most valuable, hands down, is having master animals on ruin spaces. Getting 2 points for each master animal on a different ruin space is huge. That can get you tons of points. So right away, that is the most valuable thing to go for. Number 2 after that, I would say, is heroes and attacking, because you'll get to pick one of those to hold on to, which means hopefully most turns you'll get one that's worth possibly more than 2 points. But regardless of how many heroes you have, you're not going to get to keep more than one of those tokens each round. So the master animals are still generally more valuable if you can get a few of those out controlling ruin spaces. And then the last place is the points from the cards, because those only give you 1 each round. Now, that said, it is cool that there is a lot going on, and if you can't get your hands on a master animal, you can look at grabbing some cards that have the points on them as a consolation, as a way to keep getting points while you're trying to get some more master animals. It's just that there is definitely a strategy that works, and if you ignore the master animals, you're not going to win the game. So that is a bit of a gripe for me. I do wish it was more varied in the strategies that you could use to win. That said, you're all competing for the same thing, and you will be fighting over those ruin spaces. So that becomes a positive, because it's an obvious, very valuable locations around the board, and there's limited space in regard to how many ruin spaces there are. There's limited space that you're going to have to fight over, which makes the game very interesting, and I do really like that. I really like the way the game plays. It has an interesting mix of mechanics that make this game really interesting. So you've got a bit of tableau building with building out your cards, which gives you a little bit of engine building too. And then you've got, of course, the area control, but the combat is completely not random. It's completely complete information. So the combat, if you're going to win or not when you go into a combat. So that makes it very tactical, very strategic. And the way that your meeples do not die when they lose combat, they just retreat, also makes the game feel not very aggro. It makes it feel, even though you're conquering, because you're not killing your opponent's meeples, it seems to encourage, a positive feeling amongst all the players, especially because there's a rule in here that says you're not allowed to invade a player if they only control one space. So it's impossible to do player elimination in this game, which also encourages, again, a lighter, happier, more positive feel to this game, which I really, really like. This game is very good. This game is very enjoyable. I like it a lot. Another thing that I like a lot about this game is generally the production. You've got glossy finished cards, which are really nice. They feel thick and substantial. You've also got wooden chunky meeples, which are really great. The wooden pieces feel really nice. The artwork on the board is very pretty. It's a good looking game. It's a very fun game to play. All of this comes together into my score of giving Kitara 7.5 stars out of 10. This is a solid area control tableau building game. I really enjoy this. I feel like this game should thoroughly replace Risk for a lot of people. This is a new and interesting, more modern take on the area control, done with some more modern mechanics, done where there's going to be a concrete end, where the game will not go on for ages like Risk does, and also where you have some it's impossible for player elimination, and the interesting mechanics of the tableau building, allowing you to build your forces and also allowing you to build the number of times you move and how many cards you have to choose from, etc. Makes this game really cool and really interesting and really fun. I like it a lot. I've been enjoying it a lot, and I do recommend it. So again, that is 7.5 stars out of 10 for me for Kitara. Let me know in the comments down below if you played Kitara and what you thought of it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on this video or on the game of Kitara, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial of a board game, you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.